That's it. That's the intro. Welcome to the obligatory Halloween episode, fuckers. So in the true spirit of Halloween, I know you all like to come here every month for a bloodbath where I roast your favorite television properties to hell and back, but today I'm actually feeling a little nice. So I talk a lot on this channel about what story producers tend to do wrong when it comes to producing reality TV in particular, and today we're going to talk about what happens when story producers actually get a lot of things right. So as the title of this video indicates, we're going to be talking about Dragula. If you have not seen Dragula and you have heard of it and it's something that you might want to watch, I am going to do spoilers in this video, so go watch Dragula first if you haven't seen it already, and then come back here and watch this video. Second thing, I am going to be showing a lot of video from Dragula. If you don't know anything about the show, it's gory, it's gross, and if that's not your thing, this may be a video to skip. I won't be offended, so warning for that, but without further ado, let's talk about Dragula. For those who aren't familiar, Dragula is a reality TV show competition created and hosted by the Boulet brothers, a pair of drag queen MCs and producers who are heavily involved in the running of live nightlife productions, among other things. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen any of the show, by the way, we're going to be breaking down a lot of aspects across all seasons. The show is not really at all similar to RuPaul's Drag Race, however, there definitely are a few cheeky nods to the franchise in some ways. The show's contestants compete for the title of America's Drag Super Monster, and similar to a lip sync for your life, the bottom performing monsters still have one last chance to prove themselves by facing off against each other in what's known as an extermination. More on that later. A couple of familiar faces in the Drag Race world also make an appearance from time to time. When the show first started out, there was a likable underdog charm to it. At that time, there weren't really any popular alternatives to Drag Race, and many of the spin-offs of the main franchise that we see now were still in development. Season 1 of this show aired in 2016, and at that time, Drag Race fatigue hadn't really set in for the majority of people, but there were definitely a subset of folks looking for something with a similar vibe, but a new and fresh twist. Enter Dragula, a 6-episode series jam-packed with some of the most bizarre shit you've ever seen in your entire life. Now, here are the rules of the game. Each week, the monsters are given a prompt to create a look for a floor show, where they model their concepts in front of the judges. Sometimes challenges have a performance element, and sometimes it's all about what you have on your twisted-ass body. Each challenge embodies one of the pillars of Dragula: filth, horror, and glamour. So sometimes the challenge will be to create a look inspired by a horror trope, or switch things up with a more glamorous side of things, or just get fucking disgusting. Like Drag Race, each challenge usually has a winner and usually has a bottom 2 or 3. The bottom queens are then put up for extermination, a challenge that is often disgusting, humiliating, terrifying, or causes physical pain. Now that you know the rules, let's talk about why this show is so great. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on season 1 actually, because it's pretty short, and honestly, I watched it like 4 or 5 years ago when it first came out, and I have not watched it since, so my memory is a little hazy. But what you need to know is that it laid out a great foundation for the series. A cast of unique and really charismatic performers, a couple of surprises here and there like the inclusion of Melissa Bierfierce, who presented as more of a typical drag queen at the start of the show, and an incredible winner in the one and only Vander Von Odd. Season 2, I would argue, is one of the closest things I can think of to a perfect season of reality TV. If you want something to compare it to narratively, it's like season 6 of Drag Race level good. Season 2 premiered in October of 2017. It featured 10 monsters total, competing for a cash prize of $10,000. So let's talk about what made it so great. The casting of this season is phenomenal. Not only do you have a wide array of artists who perform some variety of horror-style drag, from the polished special effects makeup of Victoria Black to the more anime video game character style of Erica Clash, the cast also had a handful of hyped pre-season frontrunners, similar to the way that Drag Race does. Abora, Dali, and James Majesty are all big names that fans of alternative drag were really excited to see. And you also had Disasterina, and she's just perfect in every way. But the one thing that Dragula Season 2 got so right was the casting of its underdog, Bitch Puddin'. Bitch Puddin' got off to the start of the season with a rocky showing, to say the least. She came out into the show carrying some drama with Abora because they previously had worked in the same scene together in Atlanta, and on top of that, her first 2 looks didn't come off as polished as some of the others in the cast. But even when Bitch does get this critique in the second episode from the judges, the Boulets really notice something important about her. She is a performer. Now yes, this is primarily a look competition at first glance, but performance starts to weigh more in a monster's overall track record as the show progresses. It's not enough to just look like a monster. You have to act like one too. This motif carries for Bitch throughout the rest of the competition, even winning a rock performance group challenge and a horror movie acting challenge, where her personality really shined through. This really makes you want to root for Bitch throughout the whole season, and she eventually makes it to the top 3 with 2 extremely other-worthy competitors, James and Victoria, who maybe deliver more in the looks department in some ways, but get critiqued on enough other aspects of their performance to make it feel like a fair, well-balanced game where truly anybody can win. Now, that's not to say that the season is without its minor flaws. Of course, many people were upset when Dolly left so early in the competition. There were other common arguments to be had about certain wins given out to certain performers that maybe should have been given to other performers, you know, classic reality TV stuff, but everyone was so engaged by the end when we got to the finale because, you know, you really felt like it was anyone's game, and by the time we got there, the pressure was on, and everyone delivered so fucking well. Spoilers again, but for the final floor show, James looks incredible, Bitch drinks dirty toilet water, and Victoria fucks a corpse and eats it, and it's awesome. And after all that, Bitch Puddin' is declared the winner, and it works so well because it's unexpected, it's satisfying, and it doesn't feel unearned or forced at all. Some other highlights of this season for me personally include the drama between James Majesty and Monarchy Shame, the entire Wasteland weekend episode, and of course, the reunion, which is some of the messiest shit I've ever seen, and I mean that in the best way possible. Dragula Season 2 was so well received that it was obvious that Dragula Season 3 was coming to us as quickly as possible, but this time around, the Belay brothers had a new challenge on their hands, especially with a growing platform, and it's a similar struggle that RuPaul's Drag Race had when it first got popular. How do you keep the magic of the show consistent while dealing with a bunch of other changing variables? Now, here's where I think the show really delivered on that front in Season 3. Something important to know about Drag Race, Dragula, and all of the drag competitions in general is that prior to 2019, there was some really intense and kind of fucked discourse about letting AFAB queens compete in competitions like this. This was a particular sentiment expressed in and around Drag Race, and Dragula then decided to completely smash that shit open by casting Landon Cider, a drag king, and Hollow Eve, an AFAB performer. This at the time was unprecedented because Drag Race had never and was not really considering allowing AFAB performers on the show to my knowledge, and I really do believe it's what paved the way for queens like Victoria Scone and even more non-binary or trans performers like Bimini or Gottmik. Dragula was expanding the definition of what drag could be, and that was a great thing. Now, this season was also pivotal because it had a cast of a couple higher profile queens who had auditioned for Drag Race multiple times in the past, particularly Eva Destruction and Madeline Hatter. I think the casting of both of these two proved that Dragula was just not like the weird little stepchild of Drag Race anymore. Instead, it was becoming a legitimate platform where queens could showcase their art in another avenue. The season was also very much upped with the stakes with a higher budget and a residency on Amazon Prime, and that played in its favor and to its detriment in a couple of different ways. First of all, the exterminations this season are some of the best in this show. I mean, for fuck's sake, in the first episode, the bottom monsters have to jump out of a plane. The workroom design is also great, and getting to see and hear everyone very clearly in confessionals is a much needed improvement. However, at the same time, it wasn't all perfect. Because Dragula was rolled out on Amazon Prime, an independent body was basically posting the episodes at incorrect times, accidentally spoiling eliminations and creating inadvertent leaks for those trying to pace themselves along with the season as it was supposed to be viewed. This, of course, was out of the Boulet's hands, but still arguably another growing pain that comes with a larger distribution platform. Additionally, a couple things in Season 3 had to be censored because of said distribution platform. And I know what you're thinking. Kayla, you told me a couple minutes ago about a contestant on this show that fucked a corpse and then ate it. What do you mean censored? And you would be correct. However, during one of the season's challenges, Hollow, one of the AFAB performers in the cast, made a garment entirely out of menstrual pads and products, but because of American television regulations about menstrual blood, they couldn't display their garment for the challenge as intended. This, again, is not the Boulet's fault, but something to think about when a show like this reaches a more mainstream audience. And finally, the floor show did not have as much of an impact as it did on previous seasons, due in part to the short and choppy quick cuts in editing. This is particularly particularly noticeable in the final floor show of the season, arguably the most important episode, and many watching felt like they didn't get the true essence of the monsters' final looks because it was lost in the shuffle, so to speak. But narratively, this season is still pretty strong. It isn't necessarily an underdog story like Bitch Puddin's, because the season's winner, Landon Cider, did so well throughout, but the show did a great job of keeping up the stakes in the competition and even throwing some surprises our way, with lesser known monsters like Priscilla Chambers and Louisiana Purchase making their way to the end. Sure, questionable wins were given out here or there, but the show has yet to run into a lot of the narrative problems that Drag Race often does now. That might be because of its shorter season length, but I think the premise of the show is still enough to feel fresh and new, and the producers are just enjoying the ride without forcing things too much. Now, at the time of recording this, season 4 hasn't come out yet, but I'm definitely optimistic about it. For those not in the loop, Jay Jolie, who was on RuPaul's Drag Race season 5, will be making an appearance on Dragula this year. This is the first crossover between the two shows, which makes me interested to see what kind of doors this could open up in the future. On top of that, we have one confirmed returning performer coming to the competition, Saint from season 3, who won Dragula Resurrection, which means that they'll have a chance to compete for the crown once again. So if you take away anything from this video, it's go watch the show. It has done so much for alternative drag performers, and minor nitpicks aside, it really is something special. The one thing I would recommend, however, is don't watch it while you're eating, don't watch it on a full stomach. Just take my word for it on this one.
Oh no. To be honest.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was a lot of fun to conceptualize and put together and make come to life. It's my first ever real Halloween special video, so let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, of course. I want to give 2 quick shout outs. One first to my friend Jill, who did my face for this video. I am not a makeup artist in any way, shape, or form, so the fact that she was able to pull this together for me on just a little reference picture and me being give me something spooky is amazing. So thank you so much for that. And also I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Gavin as well. He did all of the green screen and he let me fill in the space, and he did a lot of the cool effects for me. He actually has a YouTube channel with his buddy Alex. It's called Screen Quest. They're amazing. You guys should go subscribe to them. I will put the link in the description down below. Go send them some love. They deserve it. So thank you for watching this video. Happy Halloween, and I'll see you next time. Dragula was so fuck. Additionally, because of said distribution platform, go watch the show. It's absolutely phenomenal. Fucking hell. Similar to what Drag Race happened. Fuck.
Subscribe, you whores.